Senior Helpers University is proud to present an in-depth training on Alzheimer's and dementia for caregivers featuring Teepa Snow. Teepa Snow is an occupational therapist and dementia expert with over 30 years of clinical experience in the field of geriatrics and dementia care.
Number one, their memory is not what it was. And it's not for old memory, it's new memory. They can't hold on to new things. It's the new stuff they really struggle with. They're having trouble finding words. And they're simple words, and they misunderstand words, or they can't come up with the word at all. You might also know that they're having trouble problem solving. They can't think through a problem, like when I saw the dirty coffee cup. That's not a normal problem solving. You would have said, you know, well, I guess I left that or somebody did. And then the behavior changes. I get either more impulsive or more resistive or more whatever. But I'm not me, okay? This is a list of the 10 early warning signs. This comes from the Alzheimer's Association. And what I want you to take a look at is how many of these things, it's so easy to say, well, you know. But don't say, oh, well, you know. Because when you start seeing these things, you need to start saying to yourself, ooh, maybe this is something we need to get checked out. Because everybody deserves a good workup. This is not normal aging. When you see these kind of changes, and the one I do want to mention is when people start withdrawing from activities. We always tend to think about that as depression. It might not be. It might be that I'm smart enough to know that I'm making mistakes and I don't want to get caught. So if you don't want to get caught making mistakes, what's the safest thing to do? Step back, because then you don't make mistakes. And so they say things often like, well, I've just decided I've done enough of that. I'm not going to do that anymore. I am old. I have privileges. I don't need. And what they do is they make it sound reasonable. And you think it's reasonable. But what it is a sign of loss of ability. This is different. These are two pictures of normal. This is early Alzheimer's. Now, I said that's how your brain works, the chemistry of your brain. And these are just two slices of that normal brain, two slices of early Alzheimer's. And we can already see a change in the chemistry. This is so early that if we did a traditional MRI or CAT scan, we probably couldn't see the changes. But you sure can see it chemically, can't you? Yeah. Look at late Alzheimer's. Whoa. Look at just the little bit that are working. Here's what it's going to look like. Down, and you put it. Hey, look, you see that? You got that? Yeah. Get that down, and then you hit it. Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah. They get that. Yeah, they get it. Yeah, I got that now. No, we get it out of here. Now, what's different? In many ways, it looks like I'm a child, doesn't it? This is an 18-month-old child's brain. And take a look at the parts that are still working. In a child, those are the parts that are developing the fastest, and that's what they get active with. With dementia, all other parts have been destroyed. And this is what we have left. So, dementia. At least two parts of your brain are failing. And by the end, you can see a whole lot more. Second, it's chronic. We can't fix it. Third, it's progressive. It's going to get worse. And finally, the part that we don't tend to talk about, it's terminal. Difference between dementia and normal? Real. First part, working memory, language, behavior, understanding. Now we're going to talk about progression of dementia. And there are three systems that are out and well known. One is called the Alzheimer's scale, which is just early, middle, late. And that's helpful globally, but not particularly when we're looking at where should this person live, how much support, how much guidance, are they safe, because it's too vague. A second system that's out there is called global deterioration. And this is one's very accurate. It goes from 1 to 7 and talks about a normally functioning person to somebody who's basically comatose. The big problem with it is it tends to focus only on what can't the person do anymore. And although that's critical, it doesn't help us figure out what can they still do and how can we support them in that ability so that they don't lose prematurely. The third system that's available is Allen Cognitive Levels, or Cognitive Disability Theory. It's a 6-point scale. The big problem is that its numbers actually go in the opposite direction. The advantage to it, it focuses not only what's being lost, but what can the person still do? What are they going to be interested in? And most important, what kind of cues will help? Visual, verbal, touch, and environmental supports. Because there's this number confusion, what I've done is take that system and convert it from numbers to gems. We're going to start with sapphire. Now, sapphire is a blue stone. It's true blue. No significant changes in cognition. With normal aging, however, you will have the person slowing down and having more difficulty learning and holding on to new things. Diamonds. Diamonds are still clear, still sharp, but things are different. The diamond has lots of facets, but they're hard, rigid, and inflexible. So the signals that you may be moving from normal into something a little more involved is that they're telling you the same things over and over, asking you the same questions, denying that they've ever said that before, and they get rigid. The next level is an emerald. Now, the main difference between a diamond and an emerald, color. And the color that we're looking at is green. But I'll also tell you, emeralds are more vague. They can't hang on to the details. They're struggling a little bit more. They're on the go, but they're going back in time and to other places, and they want to go, but they're not sure what to do. They're making mistakes. But a true emerald always has a flaw, but it's inside, and the emerald doesn't know that. What we want to do is support the emerald, realize that it's changing, it's different. They need that kind of structure in their life. It's not all about the routine and the habit. It's about the past and supporting where they are, going with that flow. Amber. Now, in a stoplight sequence, we went from a green light to the yellow. And the amber is all about caution. I will also say that amber, of all the gems, is the least stable and sturdy. It's the one that's not actually a mineral. It's formed when rosin runs out of a tree, something gets stuck on the rosin, more rosin runs over, and it gradually hardens up. And what it is something caught in a moment of time. And when we're talking about amber, what we're talking about, sensation. Sensory needs, sensory tolerance. These are people who are going to hunt and gather and touch and look and feel and smell and taste. These are people who are either going to like something or not like something. And they don't understand tasks anymore. It's all about how does it feel and do I like it. The next gem level is ruby. And in the stoplight sequence, we had green, we had yellow, and now we have red. And the ruby has hidden depths, but what the red indicates is stop. And what stops is fine motor. Fine motor in the mouth, fine motor in the eyes, fine motor in the fingers, and fine motor in the feet. So these are folks who still have the big movement, but once they get going, they can't change gears. Or they're still, and they have a really hard time getting going. So what stopped is that ability to shift. What becomes critically important is that we slow down and we change our expectations. People don't have that fine control, but they're still an amazing person. Realize what they still can do are things that are automatic, things that are rhythmic, things that come without having to process and think it through. The final gem, the pearl. Now, when you consider the pearl, I selected it because it's hidden inside a shell. And if you simply look at the shell, you go, oh, there can't be anything of value in there, because an oyster shell from the outside is incredibly ugly. It's only when you open the shell and look inside that you see the amazing gem that we're talking about. And way too often as caregivers and as family members, what we end up doing is focusing on taking care of the shell. And we forget the most important thing is what's inside. I also selected the pearl because it's all ruled by reflexes. And by now, the disease is destroying a lot of the control that the brain used to have over the body, and reflexes rule. That doesn't mean they aren't still there, but it does mean they are more isolated and away. And it takes a lot of patience and a lot of intention to connect. and they can't do it all the time. But they are still quite capable of having moments of visual connection, verbal connection, and touch. But it all happens because of what you choose to do.
Your loved one with Alzheimer's disease is often more comfortable in his own world. Don't argue with him about it. For example, if he believes that it's 1956 and he's 19 years old, don't correct him unless he's unhappy or anxious. Respond to the emotions, not necessarily to the facts.
After work today, I'm going down to the Five and Dime for a cream soda.
That sounds like a good idea.
There's nothing like a good cream soda.
If your loved one exhibits behavior that seems inappropriate to you, remember, his understanding of the world is different from yours. Don't be upset by things such as lying or stealing. Don't be concerned when he makes unrealistic remarks. Instead, try distracting him. A temporary change of scene or subject can sometimes solve the problem. Here's one example.
I told you I have to go to work.
Well, you have a few minutes. It'd be better if you went with a little snack, something to eat.
Well, I'm a little hungry.
A loved one who has dementia, such as Alzheimer's disease, has the same basic needs as other people. As a caregiver, understanding these needs and behaviors will help you respond appropriately. When your loved one behaves in an inappropriate way, think of the behavior as a form of communication.
Are you okay, honey? Bob?
Your loved one may be trying to tell you something in the only way he can. Observe the behavior, determine what he's trying to communicate, and respond. When speaking to the person in your care, get directly in front of him and maintain eye contact. Gently touching his arm or shoulder may help keep his attention focused. Speak softly, slowly, and clearly, using simple words and sentences.
Do you have to go to the bathroom?
If your loved one doesn't understand, repeat the same words.
Do you have to go to the bathroom?
Use direct statements when you want your loved one to do something.
I think it'd be a good idea to try.
One of the most critical skills you can develop is hand-under-hand guidance and assistance. It can help you from the time the person is first getting connected to you, if you're moving through an environment, if you're trying to help them do a task, if you're trying to do something to their body that they're not quite sure about. This requires that you use their dominant side if you're going to do a task, because that's where all the motor connections and sensory connections are in their brain. Your brain is specialized. It's not both sides equal. So we want to use the side they're best at because that's where the memories are. You'll want to use that hand. You shake, you slide up and around, and your hand goes under their hand. It allows for palm-to-palm connection. It will also keep both of you much more safe. And that is because if somebody doesn't like what you're doing, the first cue you're going to get is they're going to try to let go. And that gives you the time to go, I need to back off. The other reason it's safe for them is you're holding their hand, and if you have their hand and they're struggling, you're not going to be tempted to grab hold or take hold of their forearm. The forearm is a high-risk area for bruising and injury when you grab an older person to try to protect yourself or to keep them from falling, because the skin is so fragile and so thin. Having their hand creates a stable connection. It also draws their eye to you and allows you to communicate with visual cues and verbal cues more effectively because you're using the right touch cue. When you're going to help someone do something and they need more guidance and assistance than just visual, verbal, and slight touch cues like pointing at objects or gesturing, you're going to want to use hand-under-hand assistance. It's really critical to know if they're left-handed or right-handed. I want to be on their dominant side. That's where they've developed skill over a lifetime. So I'm going to sit on Christina's left because she's left-handed. I'm going to take her hand in hand under hand. Then, in order to use the object, I'm going to manipulate the utensil. She's along for the ride. Typically, we're going to use this when folks can no longer figure out either how to do the task or how to use the tool. This happens with eating.